First-person multiplayer shooters. I'm sure you can think of a bunch of examples off the top of your head when you hear these words. Halo, Call of Duty, CS, or if you're an E-dater, Valorant.
For every kill you get, I'll give you an uwu.
Aw, you're adorable.
These are all great games, sure. Well, most of them. But there is one FPS that has been close to my heart for the past 8 years. That has been my standard game for half of my life, and the game that has ruined every other FPS for me. And this game is Rainbow Six Siege.
Forcing Mint into an ace situation. He's gonna get the 4K. He has the mirror window and the flash, and he gets it. The ace from Mint.
Skipping 2 years later, we arrive in the best season Rainbow has ever seen.
That ammunition counter, and here's the denial. Oh my God!
Operation White Noise is taking Rainbow Six Siege to South Korea.
The tension before you breach a room in Rainbow Six Siege is often palpable.
Rainbow Six Siege beweist sich damit als Langzeitprojekt.
Hengu goes for one on the young. Can he go the second? They're often known as the best team in the world.
What is Rainbow Six Siege? Siege is a tactical 5v5 team-based hero shooter. Yeah, I know they're called operators, but the term hero shooter just fits. In this game, 5 attackers have to storm a building to secure either a hostage, defuse a bomb, or secure a biohazard container, while 5 defenders have to secure their objective against the aggressors. The game uses what I like to call a permadeath style gameplay, where if you die, you have to spectate for the rest of the round. Operators are similar to a mix of Overwatch heroes and TF2 classes. They have their own unique ability. Exemplary, Ashe gets a grenade launcher with 2 rounds that shoots grenades that can destroy soft walls and barricades. Valkyrie has 3 portable cameras that she can throw anywhere, and Caveira has the ability to interrogate to briefly reveal their ally's position. Echo has a drone that can hang on ceilings and shoot stun blasts. I think you get my point here. Each operator, next to having different abilities, also has different guns. For example, attacker loadouts are mostly made out of assault rifles, DMRs and LMGs, while defenders mainly have SMGs and shotguns. But I mean, deep down we all know that Boss G is undefeated. Every operator also has secondary gadgets. These include flashbangs, grenades, and other stuff for attackers, and impact grenades, barbed wire, ballistic shields, and more for defenders. Most people would guess that the ARs are stronger than the SMGs due to having a higher firepower and dealing more damage, but that isn't the case in Siege. You see, Siege utilizes a one-shot headshot mechanic, meaning that if a bullet hits the head, no matter from which gun or how far away, it's always an instant kill. This means that if you have a higher fire rate, shooting more bullets per second than your enemy gives you the advantage. To balance this, attackers get far range sights to deal with defenders from farther away, minimizing the chance of getting killed by a SMG spray in close combat. That's how you get this game's interesting attacker versus defender dynamic. Attackers should keep their distance and push slow, while defenders should hold their ground and ambush the attackers. It's like a game of cat and mouse. Every operator also has speed and armor differences, with 3 speed 1 armor operators being generally very fast, but having lower health than a 2 armor 2 speed or even a 3 armor 1 speed. Every match is divided between the preparation phase and action phase. The preparation phase sees defenders fortifying the area that they have to defend, while attackers utilize their drones to find out as much as possible about the defenders' whereabouts and what their plan is, as well as how they set the site up. Back to fortification and destruction. Almost every wall and floor can be broken to some extent. It can be broken via explosions, bullets, or even your gun stock. Some have these impassable steel bars that you can't get around, while others let you make entire holes that you can walk through. This opens up a lot of tactics. For example, one could breach the floor above an objective and start shooting at the people below, but you could also do the same from the floor of the room that the defenders are in and kill them from down below. Defenders have access to 10 fortifications that they share in a pool. They can use these on soft walls to make them unbreakable by normal means. To counter this, attackers have to bring certain hard breach operators like Termite, Hibana, Ace and Horse Guy. They have access to tools that can break these fortifications, allowing easier access to the objective. To counter these, there are defending operators that can electrify reinforcements to keep heart breachers from destroying them. Now that we talked about all that stuff, let's talk about the game's maps. These vary wildly in quality, ranging from absolutely amazing to utterly horseshit. Ubisoft has this hobby of reworking maps that they deem outdated, which can sometimes make the map much better or absolutely destroy them. However, they destroy them more often than they fix them. My favorite example is Hereford Base. The original was, by the time it got reworked, very outdated, and it didn't really fit in. It was too small and the matches were chaotic and unfair. But you know what? That was fine. It was only available in casual, and casual should be what it says in its name. A casual game mode. But nevertheless, Ubisoft took my beloved Hereford and turned it into a confusing mess that is boring to attack and confusing to defend. Nowadays, when you see this map come up, most people just insta-leave, but it really didn't have to be this way. Another favorite map of mine was House. It was also way too small, chaotic, had too many windows. It sucked! But man, did I love it. The remake is alright. I don't like playing on it, but I don't hate it. Now they're coming for another favorite of mine, Consulate. And I really don't care anymore. Siege's maps are built that attackers spawn outside and have to make their way inside, while defenders start inside and are not allowed to go outside. I can't really think of any other multiplayer game that has this type of map gameplay. Now let's conclude this section with a recap before moving on to the next one. Siege's gameplay is special due to its operators, who all utilize various gadgets and guns. They all play off one another. The game takes the usual attack and defense style of CS and puts a Siege twist on it, allowing for every match to feel different. My cousin used to ask me every now and then, "You still play that game? Doesn't it get boring and only has like 3 game modes?" Siege's maps are very unique. I know Coastline, Chalet, Plain, Bank, Border, Consulate, Cafe Dostoevsky, Canal, Skyscraper, Oregon, and pretty much every other map in this game that is not Emerald Plains or Nighthaven by heart. You could show me any screenshot and I'd be able to tell you from what map it was. Siege's gunplay, and I'm emphasizing the was here, was really good. It was smooth, guns behaved like how you'd expect them to behave, and you didn't have to fight your mouse to control them. Alright, I think you get my point on what made the game so addicting, right? Last year, on the 24th of March, I made a video about Siege's troubled history. It was my first shot at a video essay and it's very bad. But most of my points still stand to some extent. Siege has a very long history with many twists and turns and almost fate-like coincidences. This game is having its 8th birthday this year, and not many games can live that long without dying, getting a sequel, or being rebranded in some major way. Siege was announced at E3 with a very fake reveal trailer. In typical Ubisoft fashion, everything was completely fake. They announced Siege after the cancellation of their prior project, Rainbow Six Patriots. Mind you, in 2014 and 2015, a multiplayer-only game that's full price was unheard of. Even Overwatch was only €40 when it released. Regardless, Ubisoft made many promises about the game. Even that it will have a complete story mode, which it never happened. When Siege was announced, many R6 fans did not care. This proved to be catastrophic when the game launched, with some truly abysmal player numbers, one that continuously dwindled. At the time, this must have seemed similar to every other online-only game, and most people probably expected the game to be dropped by Ubi and left to rot in the streets in obscurity. For some reason, however, the people working on it saw something. They knew that beneath all the bugs, the lack of content, and its dying player base was something special. A game that was made for the ages. Today we can all point and say, of course they were right, it's so obvious. But at the time it definitely wasn't. Siege at launch was rough, stale, unpolished, and Ubisoft did everything to fix it. Now, for the people that aren't familiar with Siege's content and update policy, every major update is divided into seasons, who in turn are divided into years. Every year has 4 different seasons, just like in real life. They used to add a new map, 2 new operators, and new guns. A new title screen with new music, and in later stages, completely new game modes. I want to make a short intermission here to tell you about how good this game's music is. Every single title screen is based around the same original 5 notes. This idea of using the same basic music structure, yet always adding and changing things around is brilliant. It gives you this homey and welcoming feeling, one of always returning back to the same game, yet by using different instruments and sound designs, it always feels fresh and new. Can you kind of understand what I mean with that? Intermission is over, back to history class. Now that we've established Siege's content policy, let me show you how Ubisoft fixed this pile of garbage into a shining idol of FPS gaming, and then they took it and melted it back right into garbage. It all started with Operation Black Ice. Okay, this was unplanned. Originally this entire section was supposed to be about the various seasons of the game, going really in depth about every single one, and then when I started editing, I noticed it took me an entire hour just to talk about year 1 to mid-year 3. For the sanity of myself as well as those watching this video, I decided to cut this segment and completely abbreviate it, especially as the next topic in this video will be the most important. Year 1 of Siege gave us the seasons Black Ice, Dustline, Skullrain and Red Crow. These seasons added various maps to the game, such as some of the best ones, Border and Skyscraper, as well as 2 new operators per season. Notice that every operator not only brought their respective new gadgets, but also new weapons, keeping the gun gameplay fresh. Year 2 and 3 were the best years in my honest opinion. Year 2 gave us Velvet Shell, Operation Health, Blood Orchid and White Noise. Velvet Shell gave us the best map of all time, Coastline. We also got Theme Park and Tower, the 2 most hated maps. White Noise is my most beloved season of this game, and an important thing to mention is that Blood Orchid gave us a big change in the game's aesthetic with the lightning changes. A change that many would want reverted for years to come. Another change that many want reverted to this day is the removal of Jaeger and Bandit's ACOG. Year 3 then gave us the back-to-back overall best seasons of the game, Operation Chimera and Parabellum. Chimera is very notable as it introduced the Outbreak event, the biggest event Siege had ever seen, as well as the worst operator Siege had ever seen, Lion. Parabellum was when everything was at peace. Villa was an alright map. The 2 new operators were very fun and every new gun that got introduced in this operation was great. Grim Sky and Wind Bastion, in contrast, were a step back for this game. Grim Sky introduced not only the reworked Hereford but also Clash, a defending operator with a shield that completely brought anything you did to a stop, forcing you to deal with her. She was neither fun to play as nor against. And also Maverick was introduced, and I only mention him because you can draw a penis with his gadget. Year 4 is the turning point. At least Burnt Horizon was good. Outback is still a fun map and the new operators are also alright. This is the last season with regular new weapons, as starting with Operation Phantom Side, Ubisoft announced that there would be no more new weapons. There was also no new map, but instead a rework of Cafe Dostoevsky. Amber Ice was an alright season. The no new gun policy was here to stay, and the Canal rework is alright too. Shifting Ties is a different story though. Cali actually brought us a new gun, Siege's one and only bolt action sniper, while Mai's only positive addition at the time was his funny walk animation, and reworked Theme Park is only slightly worse than how it was before. The bigger picture here is that on the 18th of December 2019, this little video was uploaded titled Rainbow Six Siege Core Team Update, Passing the Torch. In this short and unassuming video, which barely any people have actually seen, Operation Healthman explains to us that almost all members of the core team of Siege, those that were on this game since day 1 and those that have saved it from near death, are leaving and are being replaced with a different team that have their own vision for the future of Siege. Year 5 is the last normal season design-wise in my opinion. Void Edge, Iana, Oryx and New Oregon were all fine. Some have argued that Iana is too unrealistic, but personally I don't think that way, since we already have Jackal and Alibi and also Lion in the game. Steel Wave was the season that killed House, introduced us to the nightmares of Melusi and Ace, and it didn't give us much more, other than being the last season with 2 new operators. Shadow Legacy. We got Sam Fisher. New sights, a reworked Tachanka, and a reworked Chalet. The new sides at first were very welcome additions, but as you will later see, they will turn out to be detrimental to the game's balancing. Tachanka went from being bad in a funny way to being plain boring and useless. And Sam Fisher, or Zero, other than giving us a new gun for the first time since Steel Wave, wasn't really special. Neon Dawn was pretty inoffensive. Most people that believed in the old Siege aesthetic are now long gone. Aruni's robot arm is a fun gameplay mechanic, but it just doesn't make much sense anymore. Year 6 and 7 are the worst years that this game has ever seen. Year 6 gave us actually good operators with Thunderbird and Osa, at least gameplay wise, but their designs started to shift away from the Siege standard. This was all made worse when Azami was released, who looks more like a Payday 2 character than a Siege character, and the worst offenders most definitely are Sans, Undertale, and everyone else from year 7 onward. Sans' gadget looks like it got ripped straight from Valorant, and the others don't really matter. How year 8 evolves remains to be seen. The first season was fine, seeing as Brava is kinda fun, but she's also kind of just a better version of Twitch, and the reveal of the Red Factor only makes the emptiness in my heart bigger, seeing as Veneer looks like yet another character from the Division that got lost on his way to X-Defiant, and his gadget is just Viper's Poison Cloud from Valorant. That concludes our very short history section. Rainbow Six Siege has two different sets of variables that you have to balance: operators and weapons. Let us focus on weapons first, cause they tie into operators later on. In Siege there are many different guns. Some shoot very slow and deal a lot of damage, others shoot very fast but are P shooters. The entire gun balancing hangs on the rule of one-shot headshot. That's why even if your gun only hits 1 HP of damage but shoots out 1 billion bullets per nanofarad, it will probably be the better pick. I alluded to this fact earlier when I mentioned that SMGs are generally stronger due to a higher fire rate, and thus ARs get magnifying scopes to deal damage from further away. This is how balancing should work in Siege, but as with many things in life, it's not that simple. For example, we have a operator that has access to two guns, where one is clearly better than the other one. On Ash here, this is the R4C versus G36C debate. Here's where recoil and ammo comes in. It used to be that the R4C had access to an ACOG before it got removed. This will be the perfect balance: give the G36C, which is the slower firing weapon, a large range scope, and force R4 users to only use 1.x optics. But that's not what you do when you're Ubisoft. Ubisoft doesn't like giving you options, so they just destroyed the R4C with recoil, a pattern that will soon spread to the entire game. Now let's take a quick foray into operator balancing. Thunderbird here is our friend with the gadget that can remotely and automatically heal any teammate, and this is a very good gadget. Now let's pair her up against, for example, Dog. You know what Dog does? The same thing that Thunderbird does, but infinitely worse. Did I mention that Thunderbird's healing is infinite? Yeah, as long as her gadget exists and you manage to wait out the 45-second long timer, you can heal up as much as you want. Now let's compare that to Dog. Dog has a pistol that he has to actively shoot at his teammates to heal them. He gets exactly 3 shots. Let's put that into perspective. If I set up 3 of Thunderbird's Kona stations, I can theoretically heal 3 of my teammates even when I'm dead for the rest of the game, again and again. Let me give an even clearer example, using a normal round of Siege. I play Thunderbird and die in the first 10 seconds of the match. This is to no disadvantage to my team, however, as I have already placed my gadgets around the map. Now Bandit over here goes, peeks the guy that killed me, kills him, but loses 50 HP. Normally he would be stuck at these 50 HP, only 1 or 2 bullets away from death, but because I placed my Konas, he can simply walk over there, heal himself back up, and get back into the fight. Now let's say I picked Dog instead. I fight, I die, and now my team is left with no healing whatsoever. Since Dog has to actively shoot his teammates with his pistol to heal them, he has to stay alive as long as possible to make the most out of it. Theoretically, I could miss my shot and waste precious health. I could use it all on myself and have none left for my teammates. I could accidentally heal the wrong teammate, or I could simply be a console player and never hit my heals. None of these issues exist with Thunderbird. So how do we balance these two operators? You give the weaker one the stronger gun, and the stronger one, the weaker gun. So now, if you want the better gadget, you have to trade off the better gun, and if you want the better gun, you have to get the worse gadget. Ta-da! Your game is now perfectly balanced. Except if your name is Ubisoft, of course. You see, what Ubisoft did, or still does, is to continuously dogpile on guns that are already weak. The YouTuber Arch has put it into words much better than I ever could, so here you go.
They nerf character A's movement speed to super slow, so the character no longer feels responsive like character B, nerf the damage from 50 to 30, and call it a day. They ruined the overpowered fun character to the same level as the underpowered boring character. This is balanced on paper, but what they truly did is make everyone's favorite character as bad as the other one, so they are both equally bad and both aren't fun to play.
Shout out to that guy, by the way, he makes some really good stuff. We small channels gotta stick together, am I right? Ubisoft prefers putting everything in Siege on the same level, but not in the sense how my friend always suggests, by just making everything overpowered, but rather by making everything underpowered, lame and boring. This has driven itself so deep into the core gameplay of Rainbow Six Siege that it is no longer the same game that it was just a few years ago. Just compare operators from the first 2 DLC years to the last 2. My personal theory is that this is because they stopped using conventional uniforms from real-life military and just started doing whatever. Let's have a talk about collaborations. They work in Fortnite cause in Fortnite it just kind of works. Seeing Son Goku with a shotgun, fighting against Naruto and Sasuke with snipers, while Levi is cranking 90s, it's just kind of funny. If I see that in Siege, I want to die. Why exactly do we have a GSG-9 operator, a Spetsnaz and a FBI agent working alongside 2B, Morty from Rick and Morty, fighting against Pickerick, Ezio and WWE characters? I know this is a pretty old and stupid argument, going on and on about Ma realism when we got Alibi in year 3 and Jackal in year 2, but at least they fit into the game design-wise. We could potentially see holograms and feed sniffers in the near future, but I promise you that even in 100 years, no government will use fucking money heist characters to clear a hostage situation. Alright, here's another random topic. User interface. Siege's old UI is so clean and beautiful, and the new one just hurts my eyes. It looks like a Chinese ripoff, and I will never wrap my head around why they will do that. Also, can we please talk about why they changed the damn hit marker? It's so unsatisfying and ugly now. Is the game dead? Yes and no. The current Rainbow Six Siege can still be played and enjoyed for what is, in my opinion, a pretty standard shooter. The peak Rainbow Six Siege that I enjoyed and that had me hooked is long dead and buried. You're never going to be able to play that game again. Alright, I cannot end this video on such a corny note. Like, what do you think of me, man? I'm not some corny ass bitch. I wouldn't cry on a video game. I truly believe that this video will not get more than maybe 100 views at most. And even that I find hard to believe. If even just one person sat through all of this and didn't hate me afterwards, thank you. I cannot express in words the gratitude I feel to each and everyone that watched this dumpster fire. My next video will probably come out in like 6 months, or maybe a week after this video. Regardless, I hope you join me there. Thank you for watching.